I entered the wrong room. The two alien women inside wouldn't let me leave. The station was old, very old. It had been built long before humans learned how to travel between stars, long before humans even knew they were not alone. Now it was one of the most important meeting places in known space. Humans were still new here. Evan Cole walked quickly through one of the lower corridors, holding a sealed metal cylinder under his arm. He wore the dark gray uniform of the Terran Diplomatic Service, plain and practical. His boots made soft sounds against the smooth floor as glowing symbols shifted under his steps. He did not like this station. It was too quiet. The air felt heavy, not in a physical way, but in a way that made his thoughts feel slower. Every hallway looked similar, curved walls, faint lights, strange symbols that changed shape when he looked at them too long. Evan checked the small display on his wrist again. "Delivery Bay Theta 9, he muttered. The map flickered. The symbols rearranged themselves. "That's helpful," he said dryly. He had been sent to deliver the cylinder to a delegation chamber. The information inside it was important, but Evan was not told what it contained. That was normal. Humans had learned quickly that asking too many questions on alien stations could cause problems. His job was simple: deliver, confirm receipt, leave. At least it was supposed to be. He turned a corner and saw two doorways ahead. One was marked with a familiar translation symbol meaning public access. The other had symbols he did not recognize. They glowed faintly in a deep violet color. Evan slowed down. His wrist display hesitated, then showed a faint arrow pointing toward the unfamiliar door. He frowned. That doesn't look right. He looked around. The corridor was empty, no guards, no other diplomats, just silence. He sighed. If I take the wrong door, I'll just turn back. That was the thought that changed everything. He stepped forward and the door reacted instantly. The symbols flashed. The surface melted away into a smooth opening. Evan froze for half a second. Then he stepped inside. The room was large and circular with a high ceiling that curved upward like the inside of a dome. The light inside was soft and blue, coming from thin lines in the walls. The air was warmer here. The door closed behind him, not slowly, not gently. It sealed with a solid, final sound. Evan turned sharply. "Oh, no!" He rushed to the door and placed his hand against it. The surface was smooth and unbroken. No handle, no panel, nothing. "Hey," he said, keeping his voice calm. "Door open." Nothing happened. That was when he realized he was not alone. Across the room stood two alien women. They were tall, taller than Evan by at least a head. Their bodies were slim but strong-looking, covered in layered robes that shifted colors as they moved. Their skin was a pale silver gray, smooth and unmarked. Their eyes were large and dark, reflecting the light like polished glass. They were not armed. That somehow made Evan more nervous. They turned toward him at the same time. Their movements were slow, controlled, and confident. Evan straightened his posture without thinking. Years of training kicked in. "Terran Diplomatic Courier Evan Cole," he said clearly. "I believe I entered the wrong room." The two aliens studied him in silence. One of them stepped forward. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm and perfectly translated by the small device near Evan's ear. "You crossed a sealed threshold," she said. "This chamber is not open to your kind." Evan swallowed. "Yes, I see that now. I apologize. If you'll allow me to leave, I'll be on my way immediately." The second alien tilted her head slightly. "That is not possible," she said. Evan blinked. "Not possible." "The chamber recognizes intent," the first alien explained. "Once entered, the process must be completed." Evan felt a slow chill move through his chest. "I don't think I triggered any process," he said carefully. "I'm just a courier. I made a mistake." The two aliens exchanged a look. Their expressions were hard to read, but Evan sensed something shift in the room. Not anger, something else. Interest. "Mistake is a concept," the second alien said. "This chamber does not recognize it." Evan forced himself to breathe slowly. "Okay," he said. "Then let's fix the concept problem. What process are you talking about?" The first alien took another step closer. She stopped several feet away, respecting distance, but her presence felt heavy. "You entered a chamber reserved for binding deliberation," she said. "Those who enter do so by choice, whether they understand it or not." Evan's grip tightened on the metal cylinder. "Binding deliberation," he repeated. "That sounds important." "It is final," the second alien said. Evan let out a careful breath. "Right, that's definitely not where I'm supposed to be." The first alien's eyes moved to the cylinder under his arm. You carry a sealed object, she observed. Yes, Evan said quickly, diplomatic delivery. Not related to this room at all. Everything within this chamber is related, the second alien replied. Evan felt sweat forming at the back of his neck. He had trained for hostile negotiations, for intimidation, for threats. This was worse. This station is neutral ground, Evan said. Humans are protected under interspecies agreement. I'm sure there's a protocol for accidental entry. The first alien paused. There is no record, she said slowly, of a human entering this chamber before. Evan forced a small, polite smile. Well, first time for everything. Silence stretched. The second alien spoke again. You will remain. Evan's smile faded. Remain how long? Until the chamber's purpose is fulfilled. And what purpose is that? Evan asked. The first alien looked at him directly. To determine intent, she said, and consequence. Evan's heart began to beat faster, but his face stayed calm. Humans had learned something important when dealing with older species. Panic made everything worse. I assure you, Evan said evenly, my intent was to deliver this cylinder and leave without causing trouble. The second alien stepped closer now, circling slightly, studying him from the side. Your species claims simplicity, she said. Yet you navigate a station that confuses even elder races. Evan shrugged lightly. We get lost a lot. That earned him a brief pause. The first alien made a small gesture with her hand. The light in the room shifted, forming faint shapes in the air, symbols, patterns, meanings Evan could not fully understand. The chamber has acknowledged your presence, she said. Departure is locked. Evan glanced at the door again. Is there an override? He asked. No. Evan nodded slowly. Okay, he said. Then I guess we talk. The two aliens watched him closely. You are calm, the second one said. I found it helps, Evan replied. Inside, his thoughts raced. He had no weapon, no backup, no idea how dangerous this situation really was. But he did know one thing. Humans survived by adapting, by listening, by thinking sideways when straight paths were blocked. I don't want to disrespect your laws, Evan said carefully, but I also don't want to cause an incident. The first alien considered this. Your presence already has, she said, but not in the way you fear. Evan frowned slightly. What way is that? The two aliens exchanged another look. You entered without challenge, the second alien said. That alone carries meaning. Evan felt the weight of those words settle over him. He had not meant to challenge anything. But meaning, he was learning, did not care about intent. The room hummed softly around them. The door remained sealed. And Evan Cole realized that stepping into the wrong room might change far more than his delivery route. The chamber remained quiet after Evan's last words. The soft hum in the walls felt stronger now, like the room itself was listening. The two alien women stood apart from each other, both watching Evan closely. Their calm faces showed no anger, but Evan had learned something important during his time among alien species. Calm did not mean harmless. The first alien spoke again. You say you wish to avoid incident, she said. Yet you have already caused one. Evan nodded slowly. I understand that, he replied, but causing something by accident and causing something on purpose are not the same. The second alien tilted her head slightly. To us, she said, intent matters less than outcome. Evan took a careful step away from the sealed door, making sure his movements stayed slow and respectful. Then help me understand the outcome, he said. What does this chamber do? The first alien raised her hand. Symbols appeared in the air again, forming slow-moving shapes. This is a chamber of binding deliberation, she said. It is used when a matter cannot be ignored. Evan frowned. Ignore like what? Like challenge, the second alien replied. Evan's chest tightened. Challenge, he repeated. I didn't challenge anyone. The first alien looked directly at him. You entered without permission, she said. You did not announce yourself. You crossed a sealed threshold alone. Evan rubbed his temple lightly. In human culture, he said, that's called getting lost. The second alien paused. That concept does not exist here, she said. Evan sighed quietly. Of course it doesn't. The first alien began to walk slowly around the chamber. Evan noticed how her steps followed the glowing lines on the floor, never crossing them. This chamber assumes competence, she said. Anyone who enters is assumed to understand the meaning of entry. Evan's eyes followed the lines. So the room thinks I knew exactly what I was doing. Yes, and because I walked in, Evan continued, it thinks I asked for something. The second alien nodded, or declared something. Evan swallowed. Declared what? The room felt colder. The first alien stopped walking. Authority, she said. Evan blinked. Authority over what? The second alien answered. Over us. Silence filled the chamber. Evan stared at them, then let out a short, disbelieving laugh. That's not possible, he said. I'm just one human courier. To your kind, the first alien said calmly. But not to the law. Evan felt his heart beat faster. Humans were not the strongest species, not the oldest, not the most advanced. But they were very good at one thing, thinking their way out of impossible situations. Let me guess, Evan said. There's no cancel option. There is no exit, the second alien said, until deliberation concludes. And what happens if deliberation doesn't go well? Evan asked. The two aliens did not answer immediately. That was answer enough. Evan straightened his shoulders. Then we'd better deliberate properly, he said. The first alien studied him for a long moment. You adapt quickly, she said. Practice, Evan replied. She gestured toward the center of the room. A faint outline formed on the floor. Stand there, she instructed. Evan hesitated only briefly, then stepped into the outlined space. The light shifted again, forming a faint ring around him. The second alien raised her hand. A low tone filled the air. State your purpose, she said. Evan took a breath. My purpose is to deliver a diplomatic item, he said clearly, and to leave without causing harm or offense. The chamber remained silent. That is not a declaration, the first alien said. It is a desire. Evan nodded. Okay, he said. Then here's a declaration. I declare that I did not knowingly enter this chamber to claim authority. The second alien frowned slightly. The chamber does not recognize ignorance as protection. Evan expected that. So, he continued, then we should establish something else. The first alien's eyes narrowed slightly. What is that? Context, Evan said. He gestured gently around the room. This station hosts dozens of species, he said. Humans are new, our maps are imperfect, our translations are incomplete. The second alien said nothing, but Evan noticed her attention sharpen. If your law assumes knowledge, Evan continued, and I lack that knowledge, then the assumption is false. The chamber hummed louder. The first alien frowned. You are attempting reinterpretation. Yes, Evan said simply. That's something humans do well. The two aliens exchanged a long look. Your kind bends rules, the second alien said. We survive by them, Evan replied. The first alien walked closer. Your survival is not in question, she said. Your position is. Evan met her gaze. Positions change, he said. That earned him another pause. The chamber lights shifted again, forming new symbols. Evan could not read them, but he felt the pressure in the room increase. Deliberation has begun, the first alien announced. Evan's wrist display flickered briefly, then went dark. Hey, Evan said, that's not great. The chamber restricts outside influence, the second alien said. Evan exhaled slowly. Right, of course it does. Time passed strangely inside the chamber. Evan could not tell how long it had been. Minutes felt like hours. The two aliens asked questions, not loud questions, not aggressive ones, precise ones. They asked about human law, human hierarchy, human ideas of leadership and authority. Evan answered carefully. In most human systems, he explained, authority is given, not taken. The first alien tilted her head. Then how do humans conquer? Evan blinked. We don't always, he said. Sometimes we negotiate, sometimes we cooperate. And sometimes, the second alien pressed. Sometimes we fail, Evan admitted. That answer surprised them. Your species admits failure openly, the first alien said. We learn faster that way, Evan replied. The questions continued. Evan noticed something important. They were not trying to trap him. They were trying to understand him, and that meant the chamber was not only judging him, it was judging humanity. At one point, the second alien gestured to the cylinder under Evan's arm. What is that object? She asked. A sealed data cylinder, Evan said. Encoded for a specific recipient. Does it carry authority? The first alien asked. No, Evan said, only information. The first alien considered that. In our culture, she said, information is authority. Evan smiled faintly. In ours, he said, it's potential. The chamber hummed again, louder this time. You speak in uncertainty, the second alien said. We live in it, Evan replied. Slowly, Evan began to see the shape of the problem. This law was old, ancient, built for a species that valued certainty, structure, and absolute meaning. Humans were none of those things. They were flexible, messy, unpredictable, and that made them dangerous not because of strength, but because systems like this one had no way to handle them. You assume entry equals intent, Evan said carefully. But humans enter many things without intent. The first alien frowned. Then how do you assign responsibility? We look at outcome, Evan said, and response. The second alien's eyes narrowed. Explain. If someone causes harm and refuses to fix it, Evan said, they are responsible. He spread his hands slightly. I'm trying to fix this. Silence followed. The chamber lights dimmed, then stabilized. The law does not account for this behavior, the first alien said slowly. That's not my fault, Evan replied gently. It is not, the second alien admitted. That was the first real shift. Evan felt it. The chamber was no longer pressing inward, it was adjusting. You confuse the chamber, the first alien said. I confuse a lot of things, Evan replied. The second alien studied him closely. Your kind should not exist, she said. Your methods contradict stability. Evan smiled, tired but calm. And yet, he said, here we are. The chamber hummed again, but this time the sound felt different. Less like judgment, more like curiosity. The door remained sealed, but Evan sensed something had changed. The law had no exit, but it also had no answer for a human who refused to fit inside it. And that, Evan realized, might be his way out. Evan stood in the center of the chamber, feeling the soft blue light wrap around him like a quiet cage. The two alien women watched him, their expressions still calm, yet heavy with judgment. He had survived the first stage. He had made them pause, reconsider the chamber's assumptions about humans. But he knew this was far from over. The chamber itself seemed alive, humming low and steady. Lines of light shifted along the floor and walls, forming intricate patterns that pulsed with a rhythm Evan could almost feel in his chest. Every subtle change in the light felt like a message, a test he could not read. Evan's mind raced. Humans were not the strongest species here, and they had no ancient protocols for alien law. But one thing humans were good at, very good at, was thinking in ways no one expected. This chamber, with all its power and tradition, had no answers for flexibility. He took a slow step forward, letting his body language remain calm. You are studying me, he said aloud, though he did not know if either alien understood the language tone or just the words. The first alien tilted her head. Observation is not optional, she replied. Her voice was calm, precise. You do not fit the pattern the chamber expects. Evan nodded slightly. Patterns are fine for most species. Humans, we work outside them sometimes. We improvise. The second alien moved closer, her eyes narrowing. Improvise? She asked, almost like a test. Yes, Evan said, his tone careful. We notice gaps. We find ways to fill them. We look for opportunities the rules didn't plan for. The first alien paused. You claim to exploit gaps in law. Not exploit, Evan said carefully. I adapt, that is all. The room seemed to pause, the hum lowering just slightly. He felt it. The chamber itself was processing. It had rules, ancient rules, but humans, it seemed, were not built to be predictable. Explain this adaptation, the second alien said. We do not see it in your species elsewhere. Evan straightened. He had prepared for nothing like this, yet somehow he felt ready. Every human learns quickly, he said. We read situations, adjust behavior, and find solutions that keep us alive without breaking the rules completely. Sometimes that looks like bending law. Sometimes it looks like ignoring danger. But it is always survival with intelligence. The first alien considered that, stepping closer. Your reasoning is unusual. I hope it is helpful, Evan replied. He tried to keep his voice steady, though his pulse was quick. The room's hum seemed to respond to each word. The second alien's eyes flicked to the cylinder under his arm. And the object you carry? She asked. A delivery, Evan said simply. It contains information for a specific delegation, nothing more. It does not give authority. It does not challenge your chamber. It is neutral. The first alien's hand swept lightly through the air, and the lines of light shifted again. This time, patterns formed around Evan, enclosing him in a kind of luminous cage. Neutral does not exist here, she said. Everything in the chamber carries meaning. Evan inhaled slowly. This was exactly what he had expected. Then I declare my neutrality. I will follow the chamber's intent as best I can without claiming power or causing offense. I am willing to cooperate. The chamber pulsed brighter. He felt it pressing at his thoughts, almost like it was asking him to prove he meant it. The second alien's gaze softened slightly. Your species, you do not simply obey, you negotiate even with forces beyond your understanding. Evan smiled faintly. We survive because we think that's what humans do. The first alien regarded him for a long moment. You propose reasoning as your method? She asked. Yes, Evan replied. Logic, observation, and human ingenuity, that is my method. The second alien moved closer to the first, and they exchanged a glance Evan could not read. Then the first alien spoke again. This is unrecorded. The chamber has no precedent for a human behaving this way. Evan's pulse quickened with both excitement and caution. This was his advantage. The chamber expected obedience, tradition, and certainty. Humans offered none of those things. Humans offered flexibility, improvisation, and unpredictability. Then, he said, stepping carefully to another position marked by faint lines on the floor, perhaps I can show you a way that satisfies the law without conflict. The second alien raised an eyebrow. Show us, she said. Evan began slowly, carefully explaining. He outlined human ideas of responsibility. That intent could differ from perception, that mistakes could be corrected, and that actions could be judged fairly even if they were unintended. The chamber assumes a mistake creates authority, he explained. I did not claim authority. I acted out of error, but I can correct the error. I can satisfy the chamber's intent by demonstrating responsibility and reason. The first alien's eyes narrowed, and Evan felt a small tension in the room. This is unusual reasoning, she said. We do not see it in other species. You propose a path that avoids confrontation while respecting law. Exactly, Evan said, keeping his voice calm. I do not seek to challenge you. I do not seek to disobey. I seek only to comply with intent while following human principles. I propose cooperation, not defiance. The second alien looked thoughtful. She moved slowly around the chamber, her hands lightly brushing the patterns on the walls. Your species, it bends rules without breaking them. It adapts in ways the law did not anticipate. Evan nodded. That is our strength. We survive by thinking. For the first time, the chamber's hum lowered. The light patterns shifted into irregular shapes, almost as if they were confused. The two alien women paused. You are different, the first alien said quietly. Even from other humans we have observed. That's true, Evan said. We are unpredictable, and sometimes that makes us dangerous, sometimes that makes us necessary. The second alien's eyes softened slightly. And yet you speak with respect. I always try, Evan said. Even when I'm in trouble. The chamber pulsed again, softer this time, almost in acknowledgement. Evan felt a small thrill. He had begun to turn the balance. The law was rigid. The chamber assumed authority, but humans did not follow rigid assumptions. Humans adapted. Humans survived. The first alien stepped closer, closer than before, but still careful. Your reasoning, it challenges our assumptions. I hope it challenges the right ones, Evan said lightly, trying to ease tension. The second alien studied him for a moment, then spoke. We must test this reasoning. The chamber requires proof of intent. Then test me, Evan said. Ask what you need. I will answer honestly. I will show the chamber my compliance without giving up my freedom. The first alien nodded slowly. Your species, you understand law, but you are not bound by it in the same way. You create paths where others see walls. Evan's chest felt lighter. The two aliens were starting to see him not as an intruder, but as something else. A problem they could not predict. The second alien gestured toward the cylinder again. Explain its role in your reasoning. Evan held it up. It is information, not authority. It is a tool, not a weapon. I deliver it to fulfill one duty, not to claim power. My presence here does not change its purpose. The first alien considered. You propose that intent and responsibility can override assumption. Yes, Evan said. That is human logic. It works in diplomacy, law, and survival. It may be unfamiliar, but it is effective. The second alien's lips moved slightly, forming a sound Evan could not understand. She glanced at the first alien. They spoke silently to each other, a rapid exchange that left Evan unsure if he had won or lost. The first alien turned back to him. The chamber, it acknowledges your adaptability, but adaptability alone does not suffice. Proof is required. I can provide proof, Evan said calmly. I am willing to follow any test that shows my intent is genuine. The second alien nodded. The chamber will observe. Actions must match words. Evan exhaled slowly. He had expected this. Observation, testing. Nothing physical, nothing violent, nothing he could not handle. This was a chamber of law, logic, and tradition, and humans could navigate logic. The first alien moved to a corner of the chamber and touched a glowing panel. Symbols appeared in the air, showing a series of abstract shapes and sequences Evan did not understand. You must demonstrate understanding of chamber principles. You must satisfy law without knowing all its history. I understand partially, Evan said. I can follow principles, I can respect law, I can demonstrate intent through action even without knowledge of history. The second alien's eyes softened. Your kind, it does not surrender to uncertainty. No, Evan said. We adapt to it. The chamber hummed, patterns shifting faster now. Evan could feel the energy of the room pressing on him, asking him to prove himself, asking him to be clever. This was not fear, he realized, it was challenge. Humans loved challenges. I am ready, he said, stepping deliberately into the center of the chamber. Test me however you must. I will respond with reason and compliance. The first alien studied him closely, and for the first time, Evan felt like the chamber itself was paying attention, not as judge, but as observer. Then let the test begin, she said. Demonstrate intent, demonstrate understanding. Show that humanity can meet law without being bound by it. Evan nodded. A slow smile spread across his face. This, he thought, is what humans do best. The chamber was quieter now, yet the soft hum in the walls carried weight. Every light line, every shifting symbol seemed to watch Evan as he stood in the center, holding the cylinder close. The two alien women were still calm, but their focus had sharpened. Evan could feel it, a quiet tension that said the next moves mattered more than any before. He had survived the initial judgment. He had shown that humans could think sideways, adapt, and reason in ways the chamber did not expect. But he knew the chamber would not release him yet, not without seeing proof of intent, proof that the law itself was satisfied. Your species, the first alien said, her voice calm, operates in uncertainty yet insists on clarity. You confuse the chamber with this duality. Evan smiled faintly. That's true, but clarity does not mean predictability. Humans can be clear in purpose and flexible in approach. The second alien tilted her head, stepping closer. You claim to understand our law, yet you have never studied its history. I claim no full understanding, Evan admitted. But I understand logic, intent, and consequence. That is enough to satisfy reason. The chamber pulsed around him. Light patterns swirled faster than before, forming symbols and loops that he could not read. They seemed almost like a maze, a test designed to trap any being that followed rules too rigidly. Humans did not follow rigid rules. They found gaps, they made new paths. Evan took a careful step forward. I propose a way to resolve this, he said, keeping his tone calm. You say my presence demands observation. Fine, I will comply, but I will also show the chamber that intent matters more than assumption, that responsibility is action, not mere entry. The first alien's eyes narrowed. You are proposing reinterpretation. Yes, Evan said. A reinterpretation based on logic and reason, not to break law, but to fulfill it in a way your law did not anticipate. The second alien moved to a panel on the wall. Her fingers hovered over glowing symbols. This is unprecedented, she said. No one has ever challenged the chamber in this manner. Evan's pulse quickened. This was his chance. He had one advantage humans had always had against older, rigid systems: creativity. Systems that relied on rules assumed linear behavior. Humans did not behave linearly. Humans created solutions that no system could predict. Then allow me to demonstrate, Evan said. He set the cylinder down gently on the floor. The chamber lights flared softly in response. I will follow every instruction you give, every test the chamber requires. I will obey your intent, even if I do not understand all the history, but I will do so in a way that preserves my dignity, my life, and the truth of my actions. The first alien regarded him silently, her eyes sharp. Then she spoke. The chamber requires action as proof. Words alone are insufficient. You must demonstrate understanding and intent through deeds. Evan nodded. This was exactly what he wanted. He had prepared himself for action. Humans did best when they acted thoughtfully, combining observation and decision-making. Very well, he said. Tell me what action satisfies the chamber. The second alien paused, glancing at the first. The action must show that you respect authority without claiming it, that you accept the law without being trapped by it. Evan thought for a moment. He knew exactly what to do. Then I propose this, he said. I will place the cylinder in the chamber's designated delivery spot. I will follow any procedure required. I will respect every line and symbol. I will act as a human who understands law even when it is unfamiliar. The first alien's eyes flicked to the cylinder. The act must be complete without omission or deviation. Evan nodded and stepped carefully to the floor markings. Every movement mattered. He bent slightly, placing the cylinder exactly in the spot indicated by the chamber's symbols. As he did, the lines of light shifted around him, forming a glowing circle that enclosed the cylinder. "Observation recorded," the second alien said, "but proof is not yet sufficient. The chamber requires acknowledgement of authority without claiming it." Evan paused, thinking quickly. This was clever. Authority without claiming it. He had to show respect for the chamber and its law while remaining himself. Humans were flexible. Humans could navigate this. He raised his hands slightly, palms open, in a gesture of acknowledgement. "I recognize the chamber and its rules," he said. "I accept the authority of this law. I do not challenge it. I act within its intent. And I declare that my presence here is not a claim of power, but a fulfillment of duty." The chamber hummed louder. Evan could feel the energy vibrating in the floor beneath his boots. The first alien stepped closer, her gaze examining his face, his posture, his every gesture. "You bend rules," she said, "but you do not break them." "That is correct," Evan said. "I follow intent even when the law is unfamiliar. That is human adaptation." The second alien's expression softened slightly. "The chamber, it is responding to you. Not just your presence, but your reasoning, your action, your compliance without submission." Evan's heart beat faster. The first time he had survived. The second time he had adapted. Now he was beginning to reverse the chamber's expectations. The law had assumed rigid obedience. Evan had shown that obedience and intelligence could coexist, even if the method was unexpected. "Now," he said carefully, "the chamber may allow exit, or at least reconsider the assumption that humans cannot navigate law." The first alien nodded slightly. "The chamber does not allow exit lightly, but it must acknowledge proof." Evan took another step. The floor lines shifted again, forming a clear path toward the door. "Then I will walk this path," he said. "Step by step, showing compliance, intent, and respect." The second alien raised her hand, and a soft tone filled the chamber. "Proceed," she said. Evan began to walk, carefully following the path of glowing lines. The chamber's hum shifted with each step. Symbols pulsed and glowed, forming patterns that seemed almost alive. He realized the chamber was testing him at every moment, checking for consistency, intent, and understanding. This is exactly what humans do best, he thought. Step carefully, watch, learn, adjust. Survive by intelligence, not strength. At the center of the room, the lines formed a circular symbol that pulsed brighter than before. Evan paused, taking a breath. "This is the final test," he said quietly. "Intent and compliance must be perfect." The first alien's eyes met his. "Do not fail," she said. "I won't," Evan replied. He stepped into the circle. The light flared, then dimmed slightly, as if the chamber was measuring his focus. He bowed his head respectfully, acknowledging the law without claiming it. The second alien observed silently. "The chamber, it is confused," she said. "It cannot anticipate this level of reasoning from a human." Evan's pulse quickened. He was aware of the weight of this moment. The chamber had been designed to enforce law. Humans had no place in its rigid rules, and yet here he was, bending expectations, proving that flexibility and intelligence could satisfy even the most absolute system. The first alien stepped forward. "You have satisfied the chamber," she said. "But your species, it is unlike any other. It must be observed further." Evan straightened. "I am glad the chamber accepts compliance," he said. "I hope humanity's methods are understood as intent and respect, not defiance." The second alien nodded. "You have demonstrated proof. The chamber now allows reconsideration of entry and exit, but the law does not forget. Your actions are recorded." Evan exhaled slowly. He had done it. Step by step, thought by thought, he had turned the chamber's assumptions on their head. The law had expected obedience, and he had provided it, but in a way only a human could. The door ahead shifted, a faint click echoing in the chamber. Lines of light moved aside, forming a clear path. Evan looked at the two alien women. "You have not blocked me," he said quietly. "You have tested me, and I have passed." The first alien inclined her head. "You are unusual. You did not break law, yet you altered its effect. This is unprecedented." The second alien studied him closely. Humans, you are clever, adaptable, and unpredictable. Your survival strategies exceed expectation. Evan felt a small, triumphant smile. The chamber's hum had lowered, and the lines of light seemed to relax. He picked up the cylinder and took a careful step toward the open path. This is what humans do best, he thought. We survive, we adapt, we think, and we never stop learning. The two alien women did not move to stop him. They simply watched as he walked along the illuminated path. He could feel the chamber's observation, its judgment, and its recognition of his proof. For the first time, the law had met a human and realized it had underestimated the species entirely. Evan reached the final line of light. The door ahead opened fully, revealing the corridor beyond. He stepped through calmly, turning once to face the two alien women. "Thank you," he said simply, "for observing, for testing, and for letting me prove humanity's intent." The first alien inclined her head. "You have altered perception. You have survived where others would have failed. That is remarkable." The second alien nodded. "Your species may be unpredictable, but it can satisfy law, it can respect authority, and it can think." Evan took a final step through the doorway, leaving the chamber behind. The hum faded, the lights returned to calm, and the doors sealed softly behind him. He was free. And yet, he knew that what he had accomplished here would have consequences far beyond this chamber. Humanity had just proven, in a small but important way, that intelligence, adaptability, and careful reasoning could overcome rigid systems, even those designed by civilizations far older and wiser. Evan walked down the corridor, every step a reminder. Humans survived not because they were strongest, not because they were oldest, but because they were clever, adaptable, and unstoppable in thought. The chamber had tested him. And humans had won, not by force, but by mind. Evan stepped out of the chamber and into the main corridor of Kethra Prime. The air felt normal again, and the hum of the chamber faded behind him like a memory. He carried the cylinder securely under his arm, and each step echoed softly against the metallic floor. He took a deep breath. The relief of freedom was only part of his feeling. Another part was excitement. He had survived. He had followed the law of a civilization older and more rigid than humanity itself, and yet he had done so without submitting blindly. He had adapted. He had reasoned. And he had proven that human intelligence was more powerful than rigid tradition. Ahead, the corridor split. Lighted panels showed the way to the delivery bay and the station's observation decks. Evan walked slowly, aware of every step, knowing that his movements might be watched by unseen eyes. He was right. At the intersection, a soft vibration in the floor indicated that someone or something was nearby. Evan stopped and looked around. A small hover drone, sleek and silver, floated into view. Its lights blinked in sequence, scanning him as it circled gently. The first alien, the one who had spoken most to him in the chamber, appeared behind the drone. Her presence was calm, controlled, yet it carried weight. "You have left the chamber," she said. Her voice was steady, but it held a subtle note of curiosity. "You have done what no human has done before." Evan nodded, keeping his posture relaxed. "It was a chamber of law," he said simply. "I followed the rules as best as I could, and I adapted when the rules assumed knowledge I did not have. That is all." The second alien appeared then, gliding smoothly behind the first. Her eyes studied him, sharp and observant. "It is more than all that," she said. "You have demonstrated intelligence, patience, and compliance in ways our law cannot fully measure. Your species is extraordinary." Evan allowed himself a small smile. He had expected them to recognize effort eventually, but hearing it in their voices made the victory feel real. "I am honored," he said quietly, "but I am only one human. Others in my species may not succeed in the same way." The first alien studied him. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "but one human who behaves this way is enough to create precedent. The chamber will record your actions. Future encounters will consider your methods." Evan tilted his head slightly. "So humanity has a place in your records now?" "Yes," the second alien said. "Your species is no longer assumed weak or incapable. It is unpredictable, but capable, flexible, intelligent, dangerous in the best sense of the word." Evan felt the weight of her words. Dangerous in the best sense. He had learned in countless human stories that danger was often misunderstood. In this case, it was the kind of danger that came from thinking, reasoning, and adapting to situations that no system expected. He looked at the two aliens. "Then humanity has a chance to be understood, even here, even among civilizations older than we are." The first alien inclined her head. Your species has earned observation, she said, but observation alone is not enough. You must continue to prove adaptability and respect for law. That is the true test of intelligence. Evan nodded. That is fair. They stood in silence for a moment, the corridor humming faintly around them. Then the first alien stepped back slightly. Your presence in the chamber will be recorded in full. The methods you used, your reasoning, your actions, everything. It is a record for future observers and for the chamber itself. Evan glanced down at the cylinder. Then perhaps my mistake has become something valuable. The second alien studied him carefully. Mistake is a concept we understand differently, she said. What you did was neither mistake nor intentional challenge. It was demonstration, and that demonstration has changed perception. Evan allowed himself a small, relieved laugh. So I entered the wrong room, he said lightly, and ended up proving something about humans. Yes, the first alien said. You have proven that your species survives not by strength or numbers, but by intellect, adaptation, and careful observation. The drone hovered closer, projecting a soft holographic display. Symbols and diagrams flashed briefly, recording his every movement, gesture, and word. Evan watched, curious. This recording would exist forever in alien records, evidence that humans could navigate complex, rigid systems in ways no one predicted. You should proceed to the delivery bay, the second alien said. The information you carry must reach its intended recipients. That is your next responsibility. Evan nodded, grateful for their guidance. Understood, and thank you, he said, for observing, testing, and recognizing humanity's intent. The two aliens remained silent for a moment, then inclined their heads. Go, the first alien said. You have passed this stage of observation. Continue to act with intelligence. That is the highest requirement. Evan took a deep breath and walked down the corridor toward the delivery bay. Each step felt lighter now, not because he was free of danger, but because he understood the value of what had happened. The chamber had not been a trap. It had been a test, not just of his personal abilities, but of humanity itself. As he approached the delivery bay, he saw the delegation waiting. Members of several alien species, their forms strange and varied, turned toward him as he entered. He carried the cylinder carefully, presenting it to the designated recipient. The information is delivered, he said clearly. No deviations or modifications were made. The integrity of the message is intact. The recipient, a tall being with translucent skin, nodded. Acknowledged, your compliance and care are noted, Terran Courier. Evan allowed himself a small smile. The mission had been completed successfully, but more than that, humanity had left its mark. One small demonstration of intelligence, reasoning, and adaptability could alter perception far beyond this room. Later, as he moved to leave the delivery bay, Evan reflected on what had happened. The chamber had been a test of law, tradition, and authority, designed to enforce compliance without question. Humans had succeeded not by obeying blindly, but by thinking clearly, adapting creatively, and proving intent through action. It was not strength that had carried him through, not weapons, not numbers, not age or experience. It was thought, observation, logic. Humanity had survived, as it always did, through intellect and flexibility. Even as he returned to the station's main corridors, he knew the impact of his actions would remain. Somewhere in alien records, in chambers like the one he had entered, humans would be remembered not as fragile newcomers, but as clever, adaptable, and capable. He allowed himself one final thought before stepping toward the station's exit. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the oldest, nor the most advanced. But when faced with challenge, law, and tradition, humans could outthink, outadapt, and outlast systems that others assumed unbreakable. And that, he realized, was the true power of his species. The station lights glowed softly overhead as he moved toward freedom. The chamber behind him had tested him, the aliens had judged him, and humanity had survived. Not through force, not through aggression, through mind, through intelligence, through the enduring ability to think differently when the rules seemed impossible. Evan Cole stepped off the station's central platform and into the corridor leading to the exit. He carried the cylinder, but also something heavier, something lasting, proof that humans were not to be underestimated. And somewhere, in a record that would survive for centuries, the chamber and the aliens who guarded it would remember the human who entered the wrong room and changed everything.